Hi, welcome to the Los Olivos Wine Merchant and Cafe, where you not only get to taste California Central Coast wines, but you also get to meet the winemakers. And today I am so excited to have a conversation with Rick Hill of Labyrinth. Rick, gonna jump right into it. If you can sum up an aspect of your personality that gets infused into your Labyrinth wines, what would that be in one word?
Bold enthusiasm.
Bold enthusiasm.
I know it's a double word there, but
I like it.
It kind of rolls together when I say it fast. So one word.
I like
Bold enthusiasm.
Okay, that's strong. Well, let's go ahead and have a taste of your bold, enthusiastic wine. This is so we're going to be featuring 3 of Rick's Labyrinth wines throughout the month of October, and this one that we're pouring right now to highlight for our little talk is the Cuvée Stephanie Pinot Noir, Santa Barbara County. So
this is the 2014 Cuvée Stephanie Pinot Noir. It's one of 5 Pinots I make. Essentially, I cherry pick the remaining barrels that don't make it to single vineyard or specific programs for Pinot. It's named after my business partner's wife, Stephanie. And ironically, for 2014, it's only a single vineyard blend. It's a Presqu'île vineyard in the Santa Maria Valley.
This is not your
typical.
This is not your light, dainty Pinot Noir.
Even though I try to make it that way.
No, this is beautiful.
So basically, it's got a couple of years on it. It's the 2014. It's a combination of the 777 and the 667 clones. There's no new oak on this at all. It's meant to be fresh, bright, by the glass type program wine.
It has a great finesse, like the Pinot, but it's beautiful structure to it.
It's definitely got that cola mint character, very much the southern Santa Maria Valley style. You see that in Solomon Hills. You see that also in vineyards like Dierberg and Sierra Madre. Right now, just a wine that's just drinking beautifully.
I agree. And Pinot Noir, that was your focus, but now you've kind of expanded a little bit more. We're featuring Cabernet and a Petit Bordeaux. How have you, since you've had Labyrinth, how did that evolve from being strictly Pinot, the love of your life, to?
It's kind of funny. I mean, it starts back to where I'm from. I was born in New Zealand, and always had the interest and need to get into the wine industry, but there was no real career path in the late 80s or the late 70s, early 80s. At that stage, people may know that Marlborough was literally a 2-year-old vineyard, so there was no real corporate wineries in New Zealand at those times, so there was no real career path for me. So I chose a career in milk, and then which culminated in fruit juice, and then ultimately in wine. And of course, I guess New Zealand milk, fruit juice,
and now wine. But you wanted wine all along.
I did.
It just wasn't.
It just wasn't a career
for
path in those days. There was a cash flow problem, of course, when you're starting out young. And basically, cut a long story short, after I finished a wine science degree in '97, I had the option of going to either France.
And you did that in Australia?
I did my wine science degree in Australia. So I've jumped around a little bit. I spent a little bit of time in the Middle East managing milk factories, and then I was in Australia, again in the dairy industry and also the fruit juice industry. All the meantime with the goal centered on being in the wine business.
Wow.
And I guess that...
so it's like you followed that path that you wanted. You got here. You have arrived.
And it's kind of like, and if you look closely at the Labyrinth, it's part of the whole myth of Labyrinth. It's a pathway. And on my website, I call it the pathway forward will always lead you to enlightenment.
That's beautiful.
So it's kind of like a pathway. Great. And of course, the pathway in a Labyrinth can go in many directions. So to me, it could be the start of harvest. It could be the beginning of bud burst in a vineyard. It could be someone buying my wine and starting it for a few years. So there's a lot of different interpretations of the Labyrinth.
And what has been some commonalities? I imagine there's quite a few between milk and juice and this juice, fermented juice.
Well, I always remember Gary Pizzoni saying that he'd rather go to a conference of winemakers than a conference of asparagus growers, and I kind of think the same. It's like I'd rather go to a conference of winemakers than go to a conference of dairy producers. So cheers to Gary on that one. So really, it was an evolution. Sometimes you get thrown in different career paths. I didn't anticipate working for Coca-Cola in Australia. It just morphed that way. I didn't expect to work in California either. I actually.
So how did you find Santa Barbara County and Santa Maria Valley and our area?
So basically, at the completion of my wine science degree, Charles University in Australia, I had some connections. Nick Goldschmidt, who was then working for CME, he had a connection with a company called Novo that sold enzymes, and they had. There was also an intern program where they can place people in winemaking positions throughout the world. But so the options for me were France.
It's a novel idea to actually go to college and then they place you.
Yes, there's internships
nice.
worldwide for the wine industry.
All the universities out there.
And cut a long story short, I ended up in CME. I ended up in the Napa Valley. And when I told the winemaker, I told Nick that I wanted to make Pinot, he said, "You don't really want to be in Napa." He says, "I've got something I can find you that will be a better option." So I guess at that point in time, he called Bob Miller, who was then him and his brother owned the Aniceto and Central Coast Wine Services, and this is in '97. So at that stage, Central Coast Wine Services was basically a small operation behind Costco with maybe 5 clients, one of them being my wife, Lane Tanner, and several other well-known names in the industry. And the funny thing is, when you do an internship, it's usually, I'm here in California, I'm going to leave, and then I'm going to go to Italy the next year, and then I'm going to go to Argentina, and then I'm going to go to Burgundy.
You think you're going to go somewhere else.
And that's kind of the plan was. And the funny thing was, I fell in love with Santa Barbara County. I fell in love with the people I was working with. I felt instantly trusted in being involved with their grapes. And here I am, 22 years later, I'm still here. Married to Lane, making great wines. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but basically my career path into the wine industry started when Lane had knee surgery. I think that was 99, 2000, and she said, "Rick, if you help me harvest during harvest, I will give you 2 tons of any fruit that I have access to."
That's a good deal.
And I said, "That's wonderful. What I'll do is I'll take 2 tons of Aniceto." And that's how my career started. So my first vintage in the industry was 2000, and it was Aniceto fruit.
And that was a great time to come here too.
It was.
It's like that was when everything was. I mean, it's still happening. We're still growing. We haven't reached reached our potential by any means. But that's when it was all starting and exploring on and it's what does well where. Now we kind of know.
And it's kind of funny too. It's like you have waves of winemakers. It's course being around people like Jim and Bob and Lane. They were kind of like the original pioneers. Ken Brown, of course, and a few others. Then of course you've got another wave, and I kind of think I'm fitting into that second the second and a half wave when there was names like Brewer Clifton and Seth Coonan. We were kind of all starting out around the 95 to 99 era, and of course now we've got the next wave. I'm not going to mention names. Hopefully they'll end up on the camera telling you their story as well. But we've kind of seen the history of waves.
What would you tell the next wave? I'm sure you got guidance from the first wave, so.
The first wave was very Rhone, very Pinot focused. In the new since I came here, there's been more AVAs. We've got the Happy Canyon AVA. You've also got Los Olivos AVA. I would say if you've got the means and the enthusiasm, experiment. I said, right now we know we've got the opportunity to actually look beyond what we've got going on. I mean, Rhone, Bordeaux. We've not looked at a lot of cool climate styles. There are areas, there's pockets of Santa Maria Valley that haven't been tapped yet. So my suggestion would be just experiment, do due diligence, understand where the patterns, understand water considerations, understand where the next pot farm is going to be planted.
Well, yeah, that was actually a question. I was thinking, these interviews would be fun to just ask a poignant question about screw caps or some topic of debate. But right now, this debate with the pot farms, marijuana being grown in thousands of acres of it in Santa Barbara County, and how that's affecting the wine country. What's your opinion?
My opinion on that, there was some awkward decisions made probably by the Board of Supervisors. I don't understand the politics of it. People took advantage of a situation, and we as a wine community weren't vigilant enough to see its potential, where it was going to go. It's now starting to bite. I think as a wine community here in Santa Barbara County, we need to be a little more united and stand up. Obviously, the pot grow have a lot of financial firepower and we need to be able to meet that as well. So I think there's room for both of us. I just think there needs to be a little more give and take.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I feel there's a little more take than give.
Yeah. Very well put. As far as Labyrinth, and I don't know that I really got. You focused on Pinot, and now you've expanded. What led you to think outside of the Pinot box?
Actually, it was kind of more an economical situation. If you remember, about 10, 11 years ago, 2007, 2008.
You do beautiful Pinots.
Thank you. There was we had the recession. This is a period of time where I was probably selling wines in the $30 to $50 price point range. And when the market crashed, you couldn't sell those wines for that price, so you had to drop. And the problem was a lot of wineries that were selling wines in the $70 to $100 price point range were discounting into my market. So I had to make the drastic point of basically changing brands, so Labyrinth wasn't cannibalised by discounting. But it also gave me the opportunity to look out and go, okay, what does the consumer want? And the consumer was looking for bolder, bigger reds. And I'm looking at Pazzarobos, and I'm around winemakers that were doing good things with Cabernet and Syrah, Petit Syrah, Cab Franc. And I dipped my toe in the water with Tempranillo. That's where I started. And I still do a little bit of Tempranillo. And in terms of bigger wines outside of the Pinot realm, I like Cabs, Zins, Tempranillos. And of course, I've got to tell you about Cab Franc and Petit Syrah. So I do have a little play. And white, so I do a little Viognier and a little Chardonnay as well. But yeah, so really it was really an economical situation. The 2008 market crash where people just didn't buy expensive wines.
And you obviously have a business background. If you can't, you can't sell the wine, then you don't have.
Well, you want to be. You don't want. I wouldn't want to be a 50,000 case operation trying to do this. I'd really, being small, less than 2,000 cases a year. It allowed me to diversify quickly. I looked at what sold, what didn't sell. I could discount it, make it move away, buy the glass programs. I mean, just good sound wine business sense, and not discounting your premium labels.
Right. And you have to have value, know what your value is, and not go below that. Speaking of selling wines, we are going to be featuring these 3 wines throughout the month at 20% off. Each month we have a featured local winemaker, and for October, these 3 wines are going to be 20% off. We're going to have them as a tasting flight in the restaurant, so you can have a little taste of each 3, so see which ones you like, and then if you want to take them home, that's what the discount is. And then also, they are on our website, shop.winemerchantcafe, and you can find them there as well. Well, Rick, it was a pleasure hearing your fascinating background.
Oh, I know. I could I could probably give you another 20 minutes of
liquids in the liquid industry.
The liquid beverage, exactly.
The liquid beverages.
I'd rather, like I said, I'd rather drink a glass of wine than a glass of milk.
Between milk, juice, and
fruit
wine,
juice, yes.
I'm sure it's much more entertaining to interview someone who makes
Absolutely.
wine. But I'm sure you had great stories as a milk producer too.
I did.
Well, cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.